All right, so for the last discussion of the semester, I'm going to talk a little bit about some Hardwig and a little bit about some Trimble and a few other things. So I'll go ahead and get started. So, up first, the main distinction between possession and ownership. Possession is meant to be superior. Ownership is kind of attributed to this misguided pursuit we have to obtain things and goods in order to just make us happier, whereas possession takes it a few levels deeper than that, and it requires that we invest time into a good and we form a relationship with a good and use it to its fullest potential before we can come to possess it. So I like to think of a dog as an example. You buy or adopt a dog, and you won't come to possess it right away, but you'll own it right away. Possession will come further down the road, and between now and there, you'll have to spend time with the dog. You'll have to potty train it, teach it tricks, keep it bathed and fed and maintained, and make sure it's obedient and do all the things that I guess normal people do to their dogs in order to um, really use it to its fullest potential and have this relationship with it. And that is when you reach possession. And it's worth noting that a failure to come to possess something really just means that you didn't really give as much of an effort as you needed to. A lack of effort or a lack of time on your part is the reason why, and it's really usually that simple. Um, but ownership is typically considered to be hollow and dissatisfying, and so the reason why I like to think of it as like a piece of land. So if you buy a wide open, unsettled piece of land, you come to own it right away, and so this ownership is hollow. And I also like to think of the piece of land as hollow. It's unsettled. There's nothing going on this piece of land until maybe you throw some animals on it or plant some crops on it and cultivate that relationship with both of those things and put the time in for them to eventually be able to give back to you in the future. And it's not until then that you've used um, that land to its fullest potential by putting animals or crops on it that you come to possess it. And possession is typically considered to be the opposite. It's supposed to be personally fulfilling, and I think the reason for that is because getting something out of, for this example, getting something out of the land after putting all that energy into that process and giving back to you, it is really personally fulfilling. I think we can all agree that putting work into something and watching it give back to you and work out feels really nice. But now on to Trimble. So the main points in his reading, I thought the first two that were gleamingly obvious for me, or the way I took it at least, was that an ideal state and true justice, unattainable and unrealistic. Um, and I'll just leave it at that, really. The other two themes I also noticed are key points. More things don't equal a better situation or, better in general. And the same goes for the contrary. Less things and keeping it simple and not complicating things also doesn't lead or necessarily mean that you're going to have a better situation. And so I think that sort of never-ending struggle to find the perfect amount of things in our lives really only strengthens the claim that an ideal state and true justice are two things that are unattainable. And so I think both of these arguments work. I don't really care so much for putting so much significance in two different words, because after all, they are just words. But I think the distinction between the two words, the way he portrays the two words and how significantly different they are, could really serve to affect a lot of us in our daily lives and how we view things, and potentially come to benefit us if we were to kind of adopt that mindset and view things in that way. Um, and as far as Trimble goes, I definitely think that his arguments also worked, and I agree with it all. And there's really not a magic answer to any of it, and we're all just trying to sort of figure our way along. But I think these articles will definitely have an approach to my consumption, or at least I'm going to try and make them. Hardwigs in particular, I think that it takes a really special level of introspection beyond just I can afford this to think about goods and how you view things um, that differently. And I hope I can remember that the next time I'm depressed, maybe a little bit, and just want something new and shiny to cheer me up. I think I'd feel better in the end if I talked myself out of it and realize that I got something out of my philosophy conversation class, I guess. But that will do it for this discussion. So it has been an honor